Hey there, Algebra 2 students. I wanted to talk to you about a few of the problems from the 9.5 homework, part A. And let's start with question number 2. It asks you to identify the graph of g of x equals the cotangent of 3x. And the first thing I'm going to do is remind you of what the graph of the original cotangent function looks like. There's an asymptote at 0, there's an asymptote at pi, and at multiples of pi, and it crosses the x-axis at pi over 2, right? That's your original cotangent function. Well, and notice that the period of the function is pi, right? It repeats every pi units. So when you have the cotangent of 3x, that changes the period. And we find the period by doing pi divided by the number in front of the x, which in this case is 3. Because, remember, the period of the tangent and the cotangent is just pi. So normally we would have a 2 pi there, but with cotangent and tangent, it's just pi. Pi divided by 3 because of this 3 here. So that means that between there's one whole period at pi over 3. So if I broke, if this is 0 and this is pi, that would mean if I divide it into thirds, this would be pi over 3. This is 2 pi over 3. And I'm going to draw in asymptotes there. There's still an asymptote at 0. That means there needs to be one whole cycle between 0 and pi over 3. And so I'm going to start, oops. And it would go like that. And then it would continue up there. And here. Oops. You get the picture, right? That is one messy graph right now. But if you had to choose it out of a lineup like this, you would say, okay, well, there need to be 3 cycles between 0 and pi. And so it's going to be this guy right here. This one somehow has shifted the graph up 3 units. This one has stretched things out. And I'm not sure what's going on over here. So this is our solution right here. And it is a horizontal shrink by a factor of 1/3. Horizontal shrink by a factor of 1/3. Okay, another one that I wanted to look at was question 3. They ask you to identify the graph of 3 cotangent of 1/4 x. And, well, the vertical stretch is indicated here by this 3. And the period can be found by taking pi and dividing by the number in front of the x, which is 1/4. And so that is equal to 4 times pi, or 4 pi, right? We multiply by the reciprocal when we're dividing by a fraction. So that means instead of everything happening between 0 and pi, it is now happening, the period is 0 to 4 pi. 0 to 4 pi. And so it's going to go through, it's going to cross there. And it'll be something like this. Boom. Now, if we wanted to check in accuracy here, cotangent of pi over 4, cotangent of pi over 4 is just 1, and 1 times 3 is 3, and so it will go through there on its way, if that's a 3, on its way through here. Okay, and yeah, so you had to choose that out of a lineup, and it's a little hard to tell which graph that matches with because you can see they don't show really a complete cycle in one direction or the other. They have parts of the cycles between negative 2 pi and 2 pi. And so this is our answer. And how is this one different from this one? I think that this one does not account for the vertical stretch, and this one does. If you notice at pi, it's up maybe around 3. But that one is a hard one to recognize on the computer and figure out which one is which. And so there's a vertical stretch, right, by a factor of 3, and there's a horizontal stretch by a factor of 4. And some of those answers there are wrong because I've been having technical difficulties. So yeah, there we go. And question number 5 was an error analysis problem. You had to describe the error in finding the period of the function y equals cotangent of 3x, and they have the period is 2 pi over b, and so it's 2 pi over 3. And your you should see that 2 pi and be like, I don't think so. For cotangent, the period is pi, just like with tangent, right? And so to find the period, you would use the expression pi over b, and that is this expression here. And then, so if there's a 3x there, you would do pi over 3, and this answer should be considered correct, but pi over 3 would be your answer there. I hope that clarifies some of the questions on the homework, and I hope that you are all well. We'll see you next time.